And the boots, because you can't just buy boots at Ace Hardware or at the hardware store and put them on. Those are rated boots, and they meet federal standards for. Go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to say, there's only two types of boots, at least available in the United States, that meet the chemical standards for chemical response. One is manufactured by a company called On Guard, and these will always be yellow or green with a yellow sole, so they're easy to recognize. The other is a boot called Tingley, which is an orange boot with a white or eggshell colored sole. So you can spot the real boots a mile away.
I didn't realize you're into fashion, Mark.
A little bit. Little bit.
So the chem tape, again, typically the ones I've always seen have been yellow, and they say chem tape on them. And if you know the chemical, take a minute and research the breakthrough time on the tape too.
What about
don't rely on the suit.
What tape for the biological?
So biological, and feel free to jump in, please. Biological, the chem tape will cover it. If you've got a Ebola patient or something like that where decon is appropriate, the chem tape, all the same procedures will cover it. And I've never seen a biological agent that had a breakthrough time. So. Yeah.
Yeah, but
yeah.
For bio, any tape that can stop airflow is sufficient. Duct tape's going to be the main one you're going to see in bio.
Yeah, I don't stock duct tape on mine just because I don't want people to get confused on game day at 3 o'clock in the morning when they haven't done this in a while, because then they might accidentally grab the duct tape and use the chem tape. It's kind of like train how you fight kind of deal. I made a mistake once. I was teaching somebody to operate a fire pump, and I didn't want to pull all this hose off, so I was showing them a lever to pull. So water would go out a different spot. Then we had a really big fire with people trapped, and he couldn't get water because he was pulling the lever he pulled in training and not the one he was supposed to do. So I kind of believe train like you fight. So if we're going to train, let's use the real stuff. So on game day, you use the real stuff.
So this tape, by the way, is the only tape in the world made specifically for chemical response. With ratings. So if you look, and we can pass this around if you like, right here on the label, it gives you the chemicals that it's been tested for, and it's a minimum breakthrough time of 480 minutes. So it doesn't, there are a lot of other chemicals it's fine for, but it just lists the main ones that's been tested for, and it doesn't make the list unless they can hold for at least 480 minutes. Okay. So you can.
Yeah, one more point on the level B suit is that one requires a self-contained breathing apparatus to be considered level B. So you have to wear an air pack for that. And go along with that, you have to do fit testing and physicals. And before you put any suit on, you should do vital signs measurements and that kind of stuff before you put the suit on to make sure the patient's healthy to put the suit on. The funny part is, though, everyone sets a level of tachycardia. And on game day, everybody's tachycardic because something bad happened and they're putting a suit on. So, all right, so we'll talk about level C. Level C actually is the same suit. The difference between level B and level C is respiratory protection. So for level C, you can have two different types of respiratory protection. You can have an APR, air purifying respirator, and this is an APR. Okay, this is actually my deployment APR, the one that I bring with me when I'm deployed. Okay, and then this is a filter. It screws in here on the side, and we're actually going to address some sort of volunteers up in a minute. They kind of, well, you were voluntold. So, but this is a filter that you screw into here, and this filter is a CBRNE filter. If it's dry, it's rated for 7 hours on most chemical agents. If it's wet, that cuts it down to an hour. So if it gets wet, your evacuation time is a lot faster. It's not comfortable. No, with the product. Yeah. So this is, I've worked in this for probably 45 minutes to an hour comfortably. The difference between this and a PAPR, is everybody familiar with what a PAPR is? Is anybody not familiar with what a PAPR is? Okay. I can work much longer in a PAPR than I can in an APR. Because in an APR, I'm pulling air through the filter with my respirations. So without realizing, you're going to fatigue faster. You're going to dehydrate a little faster between that and the suit. So it works, and it's very safe. And I'd rather be in this than an air pack because I still have more work time, and I don't have to worry about running out of air. But I'd much rather be in a PAPR. I mean, I've worn a cooling vest. So in the U.S., they have a training facility, CDP. In a few years, I go there every couple of years just to keep my skills up. And a couple of years ago, I went to the hospital training program. And I worked during an exercise in 4 hours in Atlanta in August in a level C suit. And I was okay because I had a cooling vest on. And the air is moving in the suit and all that. So I would much rather be in a PAPR than an APR. But again, my deployment one, if something happens, I can put it on very quickly and I'm good to go. Okay? All right, and we'll go through more of the level C when we bring our volunteers up. And we'll go through this soon. We'll have Mark be our trained observer. One of the practices that I like, and it was a big topic during Ebola, is a trained observer. Somebody just standing back and just watching and make sure we're doing it right. Simple things with the chem tape. If you don't put a tab on the chem tape, you can't get the suit off. And people make that mistake at 3 o'clock in the morning. Have you ever made that mistake, Doctor? Thanks for being honest about that. All right. So simple things like that. If you're doffing your suit, did you just make a mistake? Stop. Because a lot of times you make a mistake, you can fix it before you go to the next step. It's okay. We're going to change the order of things. So the trained observer for biological chem, I think, is a really good idea. Okay. So this is JS list. This is military protection. Okay. JS list, Mark, do you remember when he switched from MOP gear to JS? 04. Okay. JS is a joint service list, so all the U.S. military got together and they wanted a common system. So this is it. This particular one is missing its suspenders because it's kind of a teaching one and actually not a real one. But it's an absorbent kind of protection, which is a little bit different than how the civilian systems work.
It's charcoal lined. So it's a completely different approach to protection. It has a barrier like the other suits, but it doesn't have the same type of chemical materials. It's designed to breathe, so air can move in, but liquid has trouble, and liquid gets caught with the charcoal.
And you can wear this actually with VX.
Yeah.
If you have the appropriate CBRNE filter, you can.
Yeah, if you were in an APR, I'd be very comfortable. To be honest, I'd be as comfortable in this as I would in most of the other hazmat suits. This is actually reusable. You can wash it 6 times and keep reusing it. You can wear it for 24 hours in a contaminated environment. So it's actually it's very safe. It's got cinching, so you can cinch up under your boots. And actually, when you wear the coat, there's a strap. Would you mind showing them the strap, Mark, that goes on between the legs? There's a strap that goes between your legs to pull it in tight around your waist. It's actually, if you think about it, it's one of the best designs. It's flexible, it's easy to use, it's reusable. You can take it off, you can put it back on. Okay? Anything to add on the JS list, Mark, you can think of? All right. And then, Mark, would you mind showing them the vacuum pack?
Sure. So while we're talking about military, these guys, they often have bigger budgets than the rest of us do, so they come up with a lot of things. They also have the luxury of plenty of experiences to test things.
Eddie.
So they teach us a lot. And one of the things that they've taught us is, the bare minimum grab and go PPE. They've done very well with that. And so
Have a seat on stage.
this is an example of a little bag that they use for their grab and go PPE. You would put an APR, which is a mask and a filter, an FR57 from 3M, a CBRN filter, something like that. You would have your inner gloves, a pair of basically hospital, healthcare gloves. Throw your outer gloves in there. A vacuum-packed suit, rated however you want with chemical protective fabric to whatever degree you want. Maybe level B, maybe level C, whatever you want, but your suit's right here. You can use your regular shoes that you have on, and you throw these booties, rubber booties over the shoes and then tape, and you're ready to go. So all this fits in a nice little bag. You can keep it, wherever you need to keep your emergency supplies, or in your vehicle, or at the nurse's station, Starbucks, wherever you want. You can do that. And before they do the demo, I wanted to talk a little bit more, just for a minute, on the selection of PPE. So you've got the A, B, C, and D, and the good doctor earlier talked about D. D would simply be any level of outer protection you desire, but no real respiratory protection. Possibly a mask, but not a fit-tested mask. So it's just a very rudimentary level of PPE. Throw on a rain jacket and a surgical mask and some hospital gloves, you're in level D PPE. So, it helps, but it's not a real solution for anything. So when you select your PPE, you have to know that there are dozens and dozens of suits that are level B. And you have to select the one, that works best for your application, which is very difficult when you don't know exactly what your application will be. And so that presents a problem a lot of times. Tim talked about the trained observer. Each piece of PPE has its own very specific donning and doffing procedures. Every single suit is different from the other suits because it's based on the way that it's manufactured. Maybe it has integrated gloves, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it has a D-style hood instead of a Q-style hood. Maybe you use chem tape or duct tape. They're different procedures. Maybe you use these orange booties. Maybe you use these boots. Depending on your application, maybe your gloves go, maybe your arm goes over your gloves, or maybe your gloves go over your arm piece. So you guys have to know this in hospitals. Based on your selection of PPE, you have to put this together. This is not commercially available. The donning and doffing procedure for your specific PPE, for your filter, for your mask, for your suit, for your hood, for your boots, all of that. And that's very difficult. We learned that we learned it long ago, but we relearned it during the recent Ebola crisis. And thankfully, one of our flagship universities, Emory, has a stellar interdepartment group that put together a very specific set of PPE that worked with the proper donning and doffing procedures. And they went several steps further, and this is available through Emory. They have a scenario-based chart or matrix. If we have this situation, we use this PPE, and this is the donning and doffing procedure for that. They furthered that, and you talked about earlier the trained observer. A trained observer came out of Emory's effort in better preparing the donning and doffing of PPE. So now there's an actual position in the process that has the procedure in front of them that watches you specifically and says, okay, step 2, you do this, and they make sure it's done correctly. Okay, step 3, you do this. This way, the wearer of the PPE isn't burdened by having to do all this mentally on their own. So the takeaway from that is be very specific and selective on what you choose for PPE, and also understand you have to generate procedure and policy based on that decision that you made. Otherwise, it won't work for you. It won't protect your employees or your staff from what you want to protect it from.
Thank you.
I'm going to go over putting a level C suit on with the APR. So before we put the suit on, a couple things we want to do. We want to get his vital signs, make sure he's fit for the suit. If he's got a fever, tachycardia is one of the things. If they're grossly tachycardic, don't put him in the suit. But to be honest, who's not going to be a little tachycardic when you're putting a suit on? So unless you do it every single day, you're going to be a little tachycardic. You got the stage fright going, exactly. Make sure that he's not dehydrated, he's not hypertensive, all those kind of things. Hungover. Not that that ever happens. Okay. We're also going to want to make sure, at this time while he's getting him dressed, we're also going to want to be looking at the patients, and we were talking about this a little bit last night. When you have an incident, the fire department or whoever's on scene is going to take a long time to set up, to get down range to meet her. If they're coming to your hospital, look at the syndromes. Does it look like a nerve agent or organophosphate, or let's get our Mark 1s or our duodope. Say that for me, Peter. Duodope, thank you. Get that ready. Those kind of things. There's a lot that we can do, especially as physicians, standing back a little bit and looking at the patient that the caregivers might not see because they're focused on getting suits on, all these kind of things. So kind of look at the people you're dealing with and get an idea of what you need. Okay, so first thing, you never want the person in the suit to dress themselves. Okay, I've dressed myself in an emergency before. But ideally, you don't want the person to dress themselves because they're expending energy, those kind of things. And who's had these suits on before? How warm are you in these suits? Even level C, you're sweaty fast. Okay, so you want to try to do as little as possible while they're getting you ready. And in fact, Andy should be sitting here drinking water. He should be pounding water to try to hydrate himself. And we all know it takes longer to get in your cells, but at least get some water going. So there's many names for it. Some people call it angel. Some people call it everything. I like the angel thing. So Peter's going to be his angel and help him dress. All right? So we're going to kick your feet off. Shoes off, I'm sorry. I should put the APR on now. Sorry, man, I saw this. Yeah. All right, so he's going to help him do that. While he's doing that, Andy would be putting medical gloves on. The bottom layer is always a medical glove, so it makes it easier in the doffing process, and in the decon and doffing process. So he's going to slide those in. You notice he took his shoes off because we're using this boot. As Mark said, if you're using that boot and that suit, you would leave your shoes on and this all goes over it. But because we're using this one, we're going to take the shoes off. I prefer myself to use this type of setup because when I use this one, I don't have that big of feet, but when I use this one, every time my feet or my shoes get caught in the suit. Just for my thing. All right, so we're going to go ahead and stand up. Okay. We're going to slide the arms in, but we're not going to zip it up. Okay. Go ahead and sit back down when you're ready. Okay. And you can see why it takes a little bit of a help. All right, so go ahead and sit back down. So we're not going to zip it up. The reason being, once we zip it up, he starts cooking. He starts getting hotter. And we got to do some work before he's ready to go. So we'll go ahead and put the boots on. What's that?
Headstand's going to be hard.
Andy wants to try to do a headstand in the suit, handstand in the suit. It's a training suit, I promise. All right. But that can happen in real life. It's time to change suits.
What size shoe do you wear? 12. Yeah, those are 13s. You want to go, usually you want to go 2 sizes up on your outer boot from your natural shoe fit.
Unless you want to be like this the entire day.
Yeah.
All right. So if you got more than one person helping him, he's got his medical gloves on. You can be sliding these gloves over his medical gloves, as Mark talked about with the several shields. Where did the duct tape go, Mark? The chem tape?
We didn't have. Oh, we're not.
I'm not going to open it, but I'm just going to show him.
Oh, there's some in here.
Okay. So at this point, we're going to put the chem tape around the boots. And he would have the gloves on. He would have medical gloves, depending on the chemical, the silver shield, and then these gloves over. So why don't you throw these gloves on, Peter? Okay.
So again, depending on the application and the style of suit. So for example, if he had a suit that did not include the footies, the feet in the suit, he would have the option of putting the legs over the boots. So for example, he was working in a in a very wet environment, that contaminated material would run on the outside and not so much risk going inside the boot. So because he's wearing a footed suit and his boots are over, we have this entry point there. And so when we tape that, we want to make very sure that nothing can get in that. One of the major pitfalls that we see in people as they start out in the hazmat business is they tape too tightly, and there's a circulation issue. So you want to make sure that you do that correctly. This is not something anyone can do without a serious amount of practice, a serious amount of training. Virtually everything that you do here can cause injury or even death if it's not done correctly. And those stakes go way up when you're dealing with some certain chemicals like VX, but more importantly, biological agents.
Okay. So the next step is we'd start taping the boots, the gloves, all those kind of things. Again, we're not zipping up until we have to. So when you tape, which we're not going to tape, that kind of stuff, but when you tape, you want to people make tabs like this. You have to remember, in most cases, he's going to have to try to take that tape off himself as part of the decon process. So when you make a tab, unless you don't like them, that's a tab. Be generous. Something they can grab with their whole hand and pull, so they're not trying to grab the little things. Okay? So you would tape here. What's that?
The death is not part of the demo.
Exactly. And I'll even ask, if I'm the angel, I'll even ask the person, are you right-handed or left-handed? You know, because that way I know where to put the tab to make it easier for them. You know, put both tabs on this side, put both tabs on that side, whatever is going to be easier for them. Also, don't wrap it 12 times. Okay? Just go around so you can seal it and leave it at that. When you wrap it 12 times, then I have to get a seatbelt cutter out and cut myself out of the suit, and I don't enjoy that. Okay? So, which again, we're not going to actually tape. So at this point, we would go ahead and stand up for a second. We go ahead and zip them up to about here. All right. So again, this is the APR, and then this is the filter. These filters have a little tab right here. I've watched many times people put this in the mask when it's on, and they can't breathe, and they wonder why. Make sure you pull that tab. This particular APR, and some of them are different, are designed to have a cap on one side and screw in on the other. Okay? So when he puts this mask on, before he puts the filter on, you want to do a safety check to make sure you have a seal, which we'll do. So he'll have the mask on, he'll cover this filter, and then suck in. And the mask should collapse to his face. If air leaks in, it's going to leak in when he's breathing it, so we have to readjust it and make sure that he's got a good seal. So you might want to lose your glasses for that part.
Challenged people, what do you do?
So there's a couple of things you can do. If you got lots of money, you can actually get the masks with your prescription. For everyone else in the world, they make little things that will hold your glasses in place without the side portions. So, and that's what most people do, is they just get the holders within their mask.
Tim, before you put him in the mask, Dr. Bashat has to catch a flight. Mm-hmm. He wants to say just goodbye.
Okay, absolutely.
Because he may take more than 15 minutes.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much. We are working together since 4 days. We are very pleased from our side, from Turkish side and EPAD, and also Minatox. Thank you very much for all speakers, for all participants. Please forgive us for lax and deficiency. As for size, it is our. I kind of asked you if you can send what does done good, what needs to be improved. It will be our pleasure if we get. Yeah, thank you very much. Just one sentence. There is a very famous from India. He's one of the past president of the India. He's not just a politician; he's also a philosopher. His name is Abdul Karim, I think. Abdul Kalam. He has a very, very good suggestion. Just one of them. He said, "The dream is nothing that while you are you see while sleeping you see it. Dream is the thing that doesn't make you to sleep." Yes, I think as a Turkish emergency physician, we come over 1 hour dream. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You are welcome, everybody. I wish you to reach your family in safe.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the support. Sorry about that.
No
I want to
problem.
be in the suit longer.
He wants to see the handstand. All right, so we're going to go put the mask on. And again, he's not doing it himself. He's having somebody help him. Okay? So once he gets the mask on, we'll put the hood up. We'll check the safety. We'll duct tape, screw in the filter, and he's ready to go. This will be type C because it's air purifying and not an air pack on his back.
So the major difference in B and C is B, you have your own air in a bottle. Or yeah, it's like a vest with it, like the firefighters have. That's B, or they have what they call supplied air, which is a big hose that goes into your suit that runs to an air generator. Level C is an air filter of any type. Pepper, this type, there are other types. If you're filtering the air, it's level C. If you're bringing your own air in a bottle, it's level B. If your own air in the bottle is inside your suit, it's level A.
All right. So this particular one has tape here that you can peel off and secure. Check his tape. Just do, the trained observer, as Mark explained, would do a safety check. Make sure we didn't miss nothing. You're good to go? Yeah. All right. And then he's off to decon or do whatever his mission is for the day. Okay. What? Ask Dr. Kazi.
So we're not going to go through the doffing procedures, but you guys get the idea. Just like there's a very specific, oh, he's really going to do it.
Please get a picture of this.
No good. No dice.
All right.
So just like there's a very specific procedure of how to put it on, there's a very specific procedure to take it off. The doffing or taking it off is actually more important than putting it on. As we learned in the Ebola event as well, most of the healthcare providers' infections were caused by improper doffing of the PPE. They took it off wrong and infected themselves. So it's very, very important.
Yeah, and just to reinforce it, I think Mark hit it, but it's such an important point, is that's the importance of that trained observer. Because when he comes out, he's hot, he's tired, he's sweaty, he wants water, he wants air conditioning, he wants to sit down. Would you agree after being in this right now? Those are the things you want. You want out of this suit. So if you don't, like Mark said, if you don't have that trained observer, mistakes are going to get made. Okay. Any other questions about this, or do we want to let him bake for a little while?
You can get him out of it.
All in favor of baking him?
We do get cases occasionally where we have given antivenom and there is refractory coagulopathy. For us, and for me, I rarely found the antivenom is not working. I cannot remember maybe few cases.
And then, though we are sharing the same, and that's the other point, though we are supposedly sharing the same species and the same use of the antivenom, but we give way more doses than how much.
Maybe you have other new species which are not covered. That is what is. I'm sure, and if you in Oman, do you know which types of snakes are available in each area?
We know.
It's available there.
I don't think you exactly know what exactly is there. Nobody knows exactly what's there.
Well,
we know historic data, anecdotal data.
I think universities, this thing, they have data.
We have good data on the type of species that we have in the country.
Not published.
It is there. Maybe not published, but it is there.
The WHO don't have it. Even as grey, they call it grey data, which is unpublished, governmental data. It's not there.
It is available.
But, okay.
But there isn't any specialized herpetologist in the area?
There is.
Yeah, so they know.
They would know.
There should be, like in Lebanon also, there is one only few published, but there is a good
Yeah, Ashraf, this is another problem in the MENA region. The data are there but not published, and we do not have access to these data.
No,
But I'm sure if you will look, you will find it.
I will show you the slides. They will show published. They have everything.
Yeah, because they will check from where they will have their data.
Governmentals. They go to the government.
No, I don't think they will have it
So
from-
WHO, let's be clear, WHO, they don't go governmental. WHO, they go to Ministry of Health. And
Yeah,
we
Ministry
have-
of Health is the government.
No, it's different there. So the one who's taking care of this, responsible for this, is Ministry of Agriculture or Ministry of
Environment.
Education or environment or universities.
So
It's not,
universities, snakes.
yes.
Yeah.
So it is not the Ministry of Health. It's the College of Science and the universities usually, and that's the situation we have there in Oman. And so WHO are basically reaching their own agency to get the information from. And most of the time there is no much collaboration between the two. So even if you are approaching the Ministry of Health and assuming that the Ministry of Health will get you the information, they will only provide what they have, but not what the others have.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you cannot rely even on the, I mean, WHO send the guidelines about the management of snake envenomation. We don't use it at all because
Because
it
that's
does not
African.
reflect.
Yeah.
It does not.
Yes.
That's African. Well, at least I talk from experience in North Africa. We don't know what's going on.
See, in today's
No.
date and time, if we say that I'm talking from experience, which is unpublished, nobody
Doesn't-
would believe,
Yeah,
doesn't stand anywhere.
yeah.
So I think the first step, forget the collaboration, go back to your own hospitals or your institutes. If you have a poison center, start making a local snake bite registry. What you can do at Minotox is make it similar. You know,
Yeah, so that's what it should be. And then you have that collective.
if you say that Minotox has made a snake bite registry, then you will have to go through the whole ministry setup and get permissions to
We're not going to do it in
collaborate.
that formal way. We're just trying to
What I'm
use this
trying to say
platform
is
as-
that you
as
start
meeting-
doing it individual levels, start
but
collecting
you
the
don't-
similar kind of data,
Exactly.
and
But
then
that's the
share it
collaboration we're
at
talking
this.
about. Yeah, that's the collaboration we're talking about. Is to have it in different area, whatever, whichever way it's going to be, and just try to start to collect.
And it won't be a bad idea if you are making a workshop on envenomation to invite your herpetologist who has actually seen the snake. Because they would have a reasonably good idea what are they dealing with.
So the herpetologist that you have in Oman, Badriya,
Yes.
so do you use them a lot? Do you?
When we have difficult cases, like we don't know exactly what's going on, and we have the snake, we do contact them to identify the snake.
So keep those snakes preserved if you can. Make a museum, keep those snakes preserved, whatever you can get, because that will help you.
So
Is that right what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because if you keep those snakes preserved, at least later on it can be used to teach, show the clinician, what you see on the picture sometimes, and what you see real snake may be a little different.
yeah.
Do any center or any one of you have already a file to collect the data?
Yeah, I do.
Do you have?
I do. I'm using the.
Do you have? We have Badriya,
Data to
that file to collect the data.
database for snake
Yeah,
eliminations.
So-
a file to collect it. Maybe we can take all the files, compare them, and make a common file and send them to everybody, so that everybody has the same kind of data. that could be
Same
collected.
kind, you know.
Yeah, so that's what we will.
And then we can start.
Yeah. So I think that's what we should start with, is to unify
Yes.
the form to collect this data.
The sheet of
The sheet,
data to
that's correct.
collect. So I think somebody has to collect all the sheets and make it.
And then look at them. And we can do it in a year, we can do it on a regular basis. We can create it.
Whenever you meet at MENA Talks.
Actually, I found a nice article recently published about all the terrestrial venomous snakes in the Middle East and toxicon. So it combines all the different areas in the Middle East. And it's an excellent article that I found through ResearchGate. I told them, can you share, because he cited my article. So, and they talk about different, like Oman, like in Jordan, like all the different areas.
Who is the-
But this is not based on.
Right.
The article was written by actually people from the UK and Jordan, by Zuhair Ahmed, Hamad Abu Bakr, and David Warren. And it was published in Kenya.
When was it published?
It was just published actually. Like
Is this
2020 now, and I asked him to share the
Yeah.
article.
And do they have a list of parameters to collect? Or?
Everything. I mean, they have literally
I mean, that's
a
what
lot
I
of
was.
all the countries.
Yes.
All the with pictures with anti-venom from where they're getting it, the complications even. In certain cases.
So that's a theoretical.
Theoretically.
Yeah, I got
Very
it.
interesting.
David Warren, I met with him in Australia. I don't know if anybody knows David Warren. You know him?
David Warren.
David Warren.
David Warren.
You know him?
who's written this article?
David Warren.
David Warren.
The person from Middle East,
Jordan.
Jordan one.
Is he a physician? Is he a herpetologist?
The biology department and the Department of Biological Sciences. So I would think he's a.
So he's not a doctor of
Or-
So that's what that's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
No, but
You know-
but I think Bruno was right on the spot. This is a theoretical
It's a theoretical
view.
Yeah.
It's not based on
data.
Data.
But it's
There's
based
no
on
data.
the published articles and data from other places. in
there is
every country.
there's
For
not much.
example, I published about Lebanon all what we know about our snakes.
Yeah.
And then he used
Lebanon
people
you
from
have.
Lebanon, and he used similarly from different.
I'll tell you an
places.
example. I'm
And
not
then-
trying to there is no data. There is no data. I'm telling you. Lebanon you have, and I know you have, and I've read your article. Saudi Arabia they have. Oman they have they have some. The rest is nothing. So that's the
See,
issue.
the point which I'm trying to make is, you are a clinician, I'm a clinician. If a person comes to me with a snake bite which is resembling viper bite, I'd say this is a viper bite. And that's it,
It's correct.
right? I haven't seen this snake. What viper? You know, why I'm trying to make this issue is because we believed for donkey's years that we have only 4 toxic snakes, but now we have found that there are more.
Interesting.
You know, there are at least 4 more toxic snakes, and we have no antivenom for them.
That's probably tally with what.
That's what she was trying to say, that we end up with
And doesn't
patients
work.
who have
Doesn't work.
persistent coagulopathy. We will still label it as viper. So when we publish it, it will get published as viper, and somebody who quotes it will quote it as viper. But what kind of viper? That is where the herpetologist would come in and tell you, what kind of snakes are prevalent in that particular area.
I understand.
And then you go from there. What do you think?
Yes.
I'm right, because if I write neurotoxic and I write that it is cobra,
Look,
it'll It will get recorded in the medical sheet as cobra, it will be cited as cobra,
But you
it will
need,
just go as cobra everywhere.
yeah, but you
Maybe
need,
it will be like cobra is crossing coagulopathy.
yes, but you need both. But you need
That's what
both.
I'm trying to tell you, this is the problem.
No, but you need
With
both,
the physicians,
Ashish.
most
You
of the
need, you
time.
need both.
You need both.
You need the
right?
clinicians and you need somebody.
You need both, but you need someone who will identify what snakes are.
Yes,
We had Ian Simpson who worked with us on this project, and Bob Norris from Stanford. So they went all over the country. They didn't only meet the physicians. They went to the villages. They met these snake charmers, these snake catchers. Looked at what snakes were. And then they came out that there are more, which you don't know.
So I think the best step now is, I think what we do, we will start with this data sheet with the guys, we start with this data sheet. And we send it and people start to collect. And whenever you have the opportunity to ask a herpetologist, get them to identify or take a picture.
You can take a picture also if you have a dead snake.
Yeah.
And you
Not
can't
smashed.
store it.
Not smashed snake.
No, even
Even
see
if
for
it's
them,
smashed,
even
they
if it is smashed, even if the head is smashed,
No, no,
they can
they-
identify
they-
by the
yeah.
scales. So if you have a good picture, they can sometimes, but obviously if you have a snake in front, then it's better.
But we have to start from one point.
At one point.
If we don't start,
You
I
just
think-
keep
yes,
discussing.
We'll be at the same next year. So we have to
But
start.
one of my
I think the easiest is to start by sheep.
Sheep, and
That so maybe you, Ashraf.
I will start it and I will send it to everybody to
everyone.
edit it. I have it, so I'm just gonna send it to you.
send it.
Yeah, but maybe first all the people can send you their own sheep.
Okay. Okay.
You have
Badri,
one
do you want to
in
send me yours?
You have one sheet to collect that.
The
sheet.
The sheet. Saudi and
We don't have across all level. No.
But you have one you.
I have one what appears on our center.
Okay, can you send it to Ashraf?
Can you send it to me?
Yeah, it's, I have the article, the details are
Make an
all-
announcement.
Send it to him. So
Do you mind?
all will send you their own sheet.
Yes.
And then you can make a common sheet
Okay.
by taking all the parameters.
Variants. Yes.
And then
Send
you
it.
send it to everybody. We criticize,
Yeah.
we give our opinion, and
Yes.
we send it back to you. And then you make the
start.
final version and you send it to everybody.
Yeah.
So that-
collect data.
Yes.
So the ones that, I know it's limited because one center, but this is, was done in collaboration with herpetologists, which is the best one in the world. And we know about all our like spiders or snakes or lizards or so.
No, probably it's good, but he has to say it's applicable everywhere.
Correct.
That's the important thing, what you just said, applicable everywhere. Now, if you write that you want to do some fancy coagulation parameter as a data collection, may not work. So you need to know what is available where and what can easily be done across the board. So that is again important.
Yeah.
Let's say somebody says thromboelastography for every patient who comes with coagulopathy. May not be available.
No. It's true. Just need to.
Okay, so it was a good introduction.
That's very good introduction, actually.
So now we can maybe start with different lectures, make them more interactive.
So we'll make it, so how 20 minutes?
Yeah, take your time.
So welcome everybody, just for the snake information. This is the second year we do this and hopefully we'll carry on doing it. Every year it's an important issue that's not only in the Middle East but worldwide, as everybody probably aware. That there are more than 3,000 species of snakes, 250 are of medical importance, and WHO classified them of category 1 and category 2 based on whether they're high or low venomous snakes and the encounter with human and the effect that they cause on human category 1, category 2. And as just we tried to discuss earlier, the Middle East in somewhere between, every country have between 4 and 9 medically important snake species. So we are not as bad as Southeast Asia or Sub-Saharan Africa or South America, but nonetheless, we have our own share of bad snakes. So in terms of the types of venomous snakes, I'm going to concentrate today on Elapid and Vibridii because this is what we have mainly here. So the Elapids, as you know, the cobras, the mambas, the coral snakes, they're typically neurotoxics, but not exclusively neurotoxics, short front-fang snakes. The Vibridii, they have two, the true vipers and the pit vipers, hollow, long, hinged fangs that inject and withdraw. They are commonly necrotizing, hemotoxic, and anticoagulant. However, you do have anticoagulant, necrotizing, and hemotoxic, but you do have the neurotoxic ones. Example, the Mojave rattlesnakes. So, in terms of just a bit of definitions, the venoms is a mixture of toxic proteins and peptides, and the toxin is a pure toxic substance with natural origin. Snake's venoms is a product of protein synthesis and is a mixture of enzymes and toxins. And there are about 20 types of toxin known, and there are so many unknown yet of toxic enzymes. Some of them are very specific. They go and target specific areas in the body and they don't touch others, while others have effect on different areas. And it's so the snakes, so the function of this venom is three things: acquire the prey, digest the prey, and defense against enemies. So this is extremely important because in no way in the evolution of the snake that the venom being produced to cause consumptive coagulopathy. That does not serve the snake purpose in any way, shape, or form. Because what you need, the snake need if you need to kill, to eat. So the effect of that hemotoxic effect of the snake bites, compared on a small prey like a bird, it's completely different from a bite on a human. The effect on a small prey is sudden thrombotic effect that will kill the prey instantly, while in human it gives you consumptive coagulopathy, which will carry on for days or hours and days. So the effect is different. So that we need to understand. The other things which is important, some classifications. We say elapids are neurotoxic, and Vibridii